Scotty, your thoughts on Baylor assembling a roster not just of talent, but a roster that fits, right?
Yeah.
Fits with each other. I don't know that collectively the talent fit with each other last year. And we've talked about that's the key to making this stuff work is having a roster that fits together like Houston did last year, like so many other teams.
Yeah, and Terrence Ganaway mentioned that on Please Bear With Me Sunday night, that it felt like half the time you were watching Baylor basketball this past season, it felt like guys playing pickup in the gym.
Yeah.
Right? Like there was not a lot of cohesion.
Not a lot of continuity.
I think what I like most about this class that Drew is bringing in the transfer portal, and of course we had additions in the last, I think, 24 hours. Both of them.
Dan Skillings.
Dan Skillings from Cincinnati, good wing piece, and then Caden Powell from Rice, who played at Midway High School, so local Waco kid coming back home. Center. I think what I'm seeing in this roster construction is an emphasis on physicality, length, and defense. More so than what I think last year. It was like, let's get some veterans who have high production. So Norchad Omir, that worked out. You had a double-double machine every night, but also when Josh O went down, you're asking a 6'7" guy to play center, and that created some issues defensively.
And Scott Drew told me point blank, if he could have gone back and recreated that roster, he would have added more depth.
Absolutely. Jeremy Roach, I think you probably paid pretty good NIL money to get Jeremy Roach. I think you're thinking veteran, production, and that one didn't work out so great. Let's just be honest. Like, you had a better point guard coming in as a freshman. And so what I like about this roster, it reminds me of Drew's best teams. I'm thinking of the 2010 Elite Eight team with Epe Udoh as the centerpiece, Quincy Acey and Anthony Jones starting on the bottom. On the bottom of that 2-3 zone, you had a 7-foot wingspan, a 7-foot wingspan, and a 7-1 wingspan.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this team is starting to resemble a little bit with the length. And I made a little graphic for you here, Pete. It might cover you up just a little bit, so I won't keep it up very long. But Scott Drew, the chef, is in the kitchen. That dude is cooking right now. He is absolutely cooking.
That's up there. Put that back up there. That's up there with the Mona Lisa. I mean, that's amazing work, Scotty. Wow.
That's AI for you, Pete.
Are you kidding me?
That's what ChatGPT can do for you. Yeah.
He is cooking. That's great, Scotty.
So I said this when I walked in today. I am trying not to get overly excited.
Yeah.
Because if you just looked at last year's roster, you might have gotten excited.
Well,
and the pieces didn't fit. But as you pointed out, I think they are probably prioritizing defensive presence, length, which will help in the Big 12, and then I think like with a Skillings, he's coming in probably knowing he's not the starter. But you say, hey, you have a role to play. Here's your role. Can you give us 22 minutes a night, high intensity on the defensive end, hit a couple threes per game? Boom. That's exactly, and I think Drew is probably pitching a vision for this team that these guys are buying into, and that's really exciting.
Let me throw a little water on this because I have to do it myself to stay tempered. ESPN's, it's like the way too early top 25 for next year. They've got 5 Big 12 teams in the top 15, and for the first time in a while, Baylor's not one of them. Now, let me ask you this. Do you almost like that?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, and Scott Drew said it, right? He said at one point, we are the hunted now. And there's been a target on our back since winning a national championship. You're not going to sneak up on anybody once you win a national title.
Yeah.
I do like that. And frankly, those rankings came out before the last 2 commitments. So I wonder if Baylor would be knocking on that 25 door now. But when you look at this roster, I was looking at this on 24/7 Sports. 6 commitments from the transfer portal, 5 of them ranked 90 or better on the grades here. And then Powell, the center from Rice, an 88. So and then 2, Michael Rautai and Obi Agbem are 95s. Those 2 guys are expected to score 18 a night. I mean, you've got some really, really strong pieces here.
If you're comparing them with the rest of the transfer portal, though, I think Agbem is how you say his name?
Yeah.
He was the highest ranked guy, and he's ranked like in the 50s. So
I've seen several rankings that actually have Rotai from Oregon State higher than Agbum.
Okay.
They are both very reliable scorers. Very different too. Agbum's a true guard, 3-point shooter, can play off the bounce, create his own shot. He can really create his own shot.
Yeah.
He's good. That's the player Baylor fans are going to love. He's going to be electric. And then
I wonder if did Agbum and Caden Powell play together at Wyoming?
That's a good question.
We would have to look that up.
And then Rotai, more of a wing, can hit from outside, but he's also going to be able to play inside out. It's going to be really good. And remember, I'm looking at those 6 names in the portal, and then you add Tunde Yesufu to it. That's probably your alpha. Already drawing the Anthony Edwards comparisons at Hoop Summit this past weekend.
Yeah.
Really dynamic scoring guard who can also play some defense. Again, Pete, I really think the story, we're going to be in December going, this team is lights out defensively. And that is just a completely different vibe than this past season.
Yeah, I feel like there's more of a general manager hat that's been put on. You know, we haven't talked about it on the show yet, but Josh O is out now. He's in the portal. And, you know, we wish him well, but, you know, now that he's out of the mix, I don't worry about that too much because of the injury that he's coming back from and because of the talent that you've brought in on the low post now. I mean, he was, as much as he was a body that gave you minutes and a presence down low, you mentioned the term moderately productive.
I said that on the break, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what he was.
Serviceable Big 12 center. And, and I would have loved to have him back because honestly, I would love to be 3 deep at that spot. Honestly, if you've got these other 2 transfers and he's coming back off injury and you can work him in slowly. Yeah. And, you know, if he comes back full strength, he's in the rotation. I think that would have been great. Bear the Truth did comment and say mutual question mark. I definitely think so. I think once Drew was able to get that commitment from Powell, that makes it a lot easier for Baylor to wish him well and send him on his way. And then Bear the Truth, I'd be interested in what you're saying here.
Outside issues for sure last year? Okay. Okay. I think Coach Drew is on a 3-year plan here. Patience.
I'd be curious about the 3-year plan comment, just because I hope you're right. Like I hope we're starting to shape what Baylor basketball is moving forward in this era. But
far be it for me to disagree with Bear the Truth.
This looks like a win now roster to me, though.
Well, I think they're all win now rosters. You know, I talked to a softball coach last week in preparation to call a softball game, and they were like, you know, we're building a program, right? Like you said, Bear the Truth, like a 3-year situation. Like, you know, some schools are bringing in freshmen so they can really season them themselves, and they know that they'll stay. And I was even thinking, as a softball coach was talking to me, I was like, yeah, right. If these kids have an explosive year, they're going to go wherever they can to get the most money. The girl, Nigel Kennedy, is getting $1 million from Texas Tech. Like, so I don't know that anyone in this world can really have a 3-year plan in college athletics. I just don't know.
Totally valid.
I just don't know that there's the market for that when you look about the problems with sustainability. I mean,
totally valid. Yeah.
Just going through ESPN's transaction wire, which it is now. I mean, the names, like, just to catch up, it's wild. Keshawn Gilbert going to Georgia. That's just one that, like, jumps out at me, right? There's just a lot of names in here. Jaden Quaintance going to Kentucky. Keshawn Hall, sorry, going to Auburn. Josan Sannon, right, going to St. John's. There's a lot. There's just so much. And again, a higher profile sport. KJ Lewis leaving Arizona, going to Georgetown. Like, that's all money and minutes, you know? So it's going to be fun to watch, and I appreciate the understanding of the basketball ops folks at Baylor and, of course, Scott Drew. Kind of like, all right, we're going to do this a little differently this year.
Absolutely. Bear the Truth responds to my claim, Natty now or win Big 12 now.
I think
both of those are almost the same. Because if you win the Big 12 at this stage of the conference, you're a national championship favorite.
Yeah, I just mentioned 5 of the top 15 teams preseason ranked now, way too early, are Big 12 teams.
But I think this team, and again, we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
There's still more of the roster to build out. We got to see how this rotation starts to come together early in the season in November. But the talent you have, I think, can compete with anybody in the Big 12 at the top level.
Yeah.
Right now you're building depth. But I think Agbum, Rotai, Yesufu.
Yeah.
That gives you a core of scorers that can keep up with anybody. You've added 2 really long centers. I love the Bodo edition. I think him being a defense first player down low is going to, like, Baylor has missed that. I miss Epe Udo. I miss Jonathan Motley. I miss Corey Jefferson. Like all these old Baylor fans know. Like those, yes, let's get someone who can block some shots, really intimidates you down low. I think you've got that now. You build out your depth, and of course, all of this is health dependent.
Yeah,
all of it.
But everything is everywhere.
I mean, any of these.
Everything is everywhere.
Right. But all that being said, I think this has the optics. Of being a let's get back to the top of the conference and let's compete for titles again, and I'm good with it. Now, if you bring in this much talent this year in the portal and you struggle to find cohesion and game plan, and we get back to conference play next year and it looks like this past season, I'm not asking any questions about Scott Drew, but I think as Bear the Truth just says, he pointed this out a lot this season. You've got a young coaching staff. Maybe you start asking some questions about how all of that works.
Yeah, no, there's
for
no
a second
question.
year in a row, it doesn't seem like they're playing team ball. But I really, 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 I do not bet against Scott Drew.
No, I don't worry about that.
I really think this team's going to play well.
It's a concern, but I don't worry about that right now. There was one other point I was going to make, but we're already over, and I forget it.
But we started late too.
So. We did start a couple minutes late. That's it for now. Well, you know what I was going to say? Bodo meet Federico. How about that? Oh, and there you go. There's the chef. But yeah, by the way, Texas Tech is ranked 3rd and Houston is ranked 1st in those way too early rankings by ESPN. So that's
Listen, those 2 teams aren't going anywhere. Kansas is going to bounce back. Like, let's not pretend like Bill Self's going to be down very long. The Big 12 is going to continue. I mean, BYU, we've been talking all week last week. BYU is putting together maybe the best roster in college
basketball. They're preseason 6, I think, right now.
But remember, their $7 million player scored 24 in the Hoop Summit. Baylor's player scored 24 in the Hoop Summit. So I'm putting Tunde against anybody. I'm already on the Tunde train, baby.
Tunde versus AJ.
My next graphic is going to be, we'll do this later this week, Tunde Yesufu captaining a train, conducting a train. I'm getting on the Tunde train, baby. Let's go.